Welcome back to First Cut. Jon Dunning here, along with Jason Ault, to talk about 2018 documentary I Used to Be Normal, a boy band fangirl story.
You scream a lot, you can't breathe, you tear up, you turn red. You're just crazy, no one can calm you down. These boys, they mean like a lot to me. They mean more than my family. They're not even like human beings. Human beings can't be that perfect.
In the 60s, there wasn't as much freedom, so this was a way of really expressing ourselves, and I could give my heart to these guys.
I can't imagine a world without Take That. I can't imagine my life without Take That. The Back for Good film clip was so artistic.
Oh,
Black and white, in the rain, dancing in slow motion. It's just unbelievable. How can this even be a thing?
Nobody I knew was as hardcore as me. This is the music video for Quit Playing Games With My Heart. So they're just like soaking wet. Kevin's shirt's unbuttoned. Oh my God. I'm feeling some things.
A boy band theory. So the personalities of the boy band, bad boy incorporated. We need a cute one, and then we got Paul.
he was a sexy dude.
I found love with Harry. His like eyes are just amazing.
That was part of the fantasy. It was like, I'm waiting for Nick Carter to teach me how to swim.
Whenever things are going wrong, I'm just like, boy bands are the answer.
I'm probably gonna become a professional singer. My parents are holding me back. They think you're just wasting time.
I was clinically depressed. I feel like I'm not letting go of the past in some way.
It's not a phase, and I just haven't quite understood why.
The Backstreet Boys to me are about unconditional love, and they're never gonna break my heart.
I feel like I have more connection to life because of One Direction.
This is a time in your life when you really need to scream and yell and cry and all of those things. It's a release, and we have so much energy that we hold on to. Get rid of it. Have a ball. And you feel so good.
I used to be normal.
Normally on the show, we try to be tough but fair, but I have nothing but good stuff to say about this movie. I guess maybe it's hard to screw up a documentary, you know? This was just fantastic. I loved every minute of it.
I wish I could be, just for discourse sake, I wish I could be contrarian, but I just loved this film. I love this film more than I've loved most films that I've seen lately, and I don't know why it struck such a personal chord with me, but it just did, and I felt equal parts like hopeful and just like sorrowful after I was done watching this, and I have to give all the credit, of course, to the subject matter and the cast, but starts at the top, and that's Jessica Leski. I think is a rock star in the making as far as being a documentarian, because she did another film called The Ball, which was following students with special needs preparing for a debutante ball, and I can't wait to go check that one out. She's definitely gotten my attention, and I want to see pretty much everything she's doing.
Competently done documentaries, they all sort of feel samey. It's sort of like, well, here's the thing I didn't know about, and now I care for the next week and a half. It's like, oh, maybe I should recycle, and then you get back to your normal life. But I felt like instead of like moving me to do something, this was just sort of like I was moved to be empathetic to a mindset that I can't really relate to at all. And I don't know if it's just, maybe it's a girl thing. I don't really know. I knew people in high school that were juggalos. You can't tell me that's not like a similar type of obsession. Like, right. That's a real lifestyle choice versus these women just liked Marky Mark or whatever a little too much. I was trying to think of someone in a boy band, and I watched this whole movie, and I literally couldn't. I was like, name a Backstreet Boy. Name any Backstreet Boy.
Swing and a miss. Yeah.
Gun to your head. Howie? I don't know.
Mark Wahlberg. Nope. Damn it.
Lance Bass from Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
Nick Lachey. Oh, I guess I can name some people from some things.
So you're the forgettable prototype. You're like the apologist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Going to high school in the late 90s and early 2000s, this was right around the time when the Backstreet Boys kind of blew up, and the NSYNC mania and the TRL lifestyle. That was happening to my friends and all that. But then, was that so dissimilar from what I was doing too? Like, I was obsessed with Blink-182. I was in a band going to different garages and doing Blink cover songs. And how is that, just because I'm like, ooh, Blink's funny and they're self-aware. It's just like, no, they are boy bands, but for males. So that's why I think I feel like I connected with this. It encapsulates this type of fandom perfectly, and generationally. And I think one of the best words to describe this film is generational.
She did a really good job of picking somebody from any generation, and it just happened to be that one of the protagonists, Sadia, the Backstreet Boys fan, is like basically the same age as us, exactly. So she went to high school at the same time, that we did, and we experienced everything. We watched TRL after school. We were aware of all those songs on the radio. All that stuff was huge at the time. So, someone a little older than me might have been like, oh, I remember Take That, or,
right.
I remember the Beatles, or someone younger like, oh, everybody at school is obsessed with One Direction. For the sake of like telling a story, it was necessary to get to trace the evolution, like past, present, and future of boy band fandom, but also you were going to find the music of your era almost no matter what age you are watching this movie, and that's a touchstone for you also.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you these certain types of groups really are there for you. This is when you stop playing with your Barbies and now you graduate into idolizing a real human male, and not in a sexual way. It's not that. It's just, but it's the beginning of those kind of feelings. And I really got into the pop punk genre because, those guys were super awkward talking to girls, so that's what they would write songs about. So that kind of helped me through that too. And just the fact that she was able to capture that so deftly. Her second outing was just masterful. And it feels a lot more expensive than it is. This was a partially crowd-funded film.
It's kind of like the movie was made in fits and starts, because she, interviews these people with long periods in between, and who knows if that was funding related, but you got to see every character have an arc. Some of them were like, well, I've grown to accept this about myself. Or, some of them were like, wow, I kind of saw boy band fandom taken to the nth degree and recoiled from it a little bit, and I want to reevaluate things a little. I like that everybody sort of had an arc and came to terms with it in their own way. But it was a different experience for every woman, as different as their different bands are.
I have a real respect for good documentarians, because you have to do it patiently. She went back, she did so much research, she did so much follow-up, follow-through, and you're never going to get Marvel money, right? You're going to put in so much work. I'm sure she had a good team around her, and I know she had a good team of producers around her. I feel like to really put together a good production with a documentary, it just, you have to really care about the subject matter. And you said that this was a lot of interviews, and that's true, but it also had some great insert shots. It had some real cool animations and some band clips. And one of I thought it was cool. I heard this from one of the producers, that one of the funders for the crowdfunding was the Backstreet Boys. They found out that they were doing this about it, and they put in it wasn't a fortune that they put in, but they did put in some cash to make it. So
yeah, good on them. They definitely come across likable in the film from Sadia's point of view, but it's good that they helped this get made, because I just thought it was delightful. I can't think of a person that wouldn't like this. I mean, documentaries are kind of boring to some people, so I guess if you don't like any documentary, you won't like this. But if you do like any documentary, or just if you like boy bands, I guess, I don't know. I can't think of a person I would not recommend this movie to.
Well, and like you said, it's not it's not something that you felt those kind of emotions for when you were of that age, but it still found a way to kind of burrow its way in, right? It just has that attachability and relatability, even if you're not really interested in the subject matter. Everyone's had a little sister, or a friend's sister or something that's kind of, at the time you're probably like, oh God, like just turn NSYNC off already.
I have a 3-year-old daughter, and like if you see the progression of boy bands from the Beatles to One Direction, I can't even imagine what fresh hell 2030 is going to unleash on me. 2030 music is just going to be god awful.
It's not going to be music anymore. It's just going to be, I don't know, clicks on a keyboard or something. It's groundbreaking.
Yeah. Skrillex used to hit play on his laptop, and I don't want to work that hard.
Without getting into spoilers, because I really feel like everyone should go check this one out. Again, it's streaming on Prime. This one's $1.99, $2, like, and you get an absolute great film. Like, that's a deal. But it shows, like, some of them, they start out from maniacs, just absolute maniacs, and it's all kind of caught on film. One of them centers around a video that went viral from one of the featured girls, where she even kind of breaks out and is self-aware, and she's just like, I used to be normal. Like, it really, like, these things kind of possess them and take them over. And she has like one of the most, a heartbreaking arcs, I could say. And all of them have these, all of them are kind of self-aware. It plays a nice balance between validation and self-indictment also, where just like everything, it's basically telling you that everything is good in moderation. And, all these young people have all this emotion and all this kind of useless energy. When you're young and you're entering puberty and all that, you have all these feelings, all this pent-up emotion, and sometimes you just got to go somewhere and scream. And so you don't look like a lunatic. These kind of places give you a venue to do that. And that was like, that message was so touching to me that I even got emotional watching that, where it's, I remember not just, once you kind of hit a certain age, everything kind of hardens up, but it just made me pull back and be like, God, these, like, the smallest things used to
feel like the end of the world. Exactly.
Yeah.
When you're a ball of hormones, like, everything is a huge deal. I like the similarities between all the women. As much as the bands were different, they're all like, oh, I would clip everything out of magazines and the newspaper and stuff like that. And they all had little collages, which I thought was interesting. There was so much they all had in common, despite, being from completely different generations.
Yeah, and completely different countries. It was kind of a global phenomenon. And some of them wound up staying in that realm. I think Susan kind of works with or for Paul McCartney's manager at this point. And she's the Beatles fan, so she's been kind of a lifelong fan. You get to see different stages where she's the lifelong fan, and then some of them, the joy kind of faded for them, and they're just like, now I listen to jazz. You should listen to jazz.
I think they all matured and they all had an arc, but they all, at one point in time, lost their goddamn minds, and I think that's amazing.
And it's okay.
Yeah, because losing your mind, it means you just, like, uncritically just give yourself over to enthusiasm. And people feel embarrassed about the stuff they're super enthusiastic about, and that's like other people's baggage, and that's really unfortunate. So I think there's something pure about the time in your life where you're just so self-involved and you don't care what other people think. You do, because what other people think is everything when you're in high school, but also you kind of can't, because this thing is just so big. It takes over your whole life. And I think there's something pure about that. And like later in your life, when you're just embarrassed about the stuff you're super enthusiastic about, I think that's one of the shittiest things people do to each other, is making each other feel bad about the stuff they really like.
Yeah.
And this was a movie about different ways of coping with being embarrassed by that feeling. And mid tantrum saying I used to be normal, but like not being able to do anything about it, but just remark that, like, I realize I'm being extra. I think there's something really endearing about that. And the film really has a hopeful tone to it.
Yeah, and a lot of these girls, this thing was something that filled a void in their life. Because I think Susan was kind of the only one that was kind of in a group where she would go over to her friend's house and they would all just kind of have like Beatle listening slumber parties, and they could kind of do it together. And the other three, they were a little bit more introverted, but this was the thing that was always there. And like Sadia said, even through she went through something without giving away too much in college, and she kind of went back to the Backstreet Boys because it was just a familiar thing, and it was just healthy for her. I think she kind of took it to, I think she, out of anyone, kind of found the line where she kind of really went to that edge of it being not okay and not healthy. But she was self-aware enough to kind of pull back from it.
Yep. You can go like, being that crazy is not for me anymore, but I have fond memories of that time in my life.
I feel very strongly about people checking this one out. And like I said, it's only $2 on Prime, and it's definitely worth, I could think of $1.5 million, it's 2 frozen burritos, put those burritos back in the freezer and check this out instead, because this is a real treat for anyone, I think, that likes, like you said, likes documentaries, or that grew up around this era, or not even, because like we both stated throughout this whole thing, it's a generational film, and I think that it will connect with everyone, and that's what makes it really special. So really surprising film. I was not expecting to be this moved by I Used to Be Normal, a boy band fangirl story, but I absolutely was. So yeah, go check it out. And then once you're done checking it out, why don't you come on back and leave in the comment section, and did we oversell this film? Tell us that in the comments. Thumbs up the video, share it around the social medias, let everyone know that we're reviewing movies. If you want to talk movies further with me, you could do so on Twitter @OrzovDone.
And I'm Jason E. Alt on Twitter. That's all from us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.